guys, it's Patty from Patty's Crafty Spot, and I'm here to share with you my latest project. This is a country craft design team project, and I used Life is Beautiful paper collection, and this paper collection is very beautiful. So let me show you what I made for you. So this is a mini album. This measures 8 1/4 by 9 with a 2.5 inch spine. And let me go ahead and walk you through it. So on the front, I went ahead and created just a simple pocket, so you can go ahead and keep some extra photo mats in there. And if you open it up, we have a very large pocket on the side, and there is one that goes ahead and matches the back. And let me show you this real quick. So on the front, there are 2 diagonal pockets. And these pockets right here are held together closed by some photo mats, just some standard photo mats. And it opens up like this, room for photos here and here. And then plenty of room for photos on the pages, as well as you can have loose photo mats right in here. And then these pages here keep it all contained so nothing in the inside will fall out. Just like that. And the pocket on the inside front and back covers does have a little bit of a gusset on it right here, so that way you can go ahead and it allows room for expansion with all of your photos, and it does fit in nice and snug. And on the front page here, so altogether there are 4 pages. They are all identical. So right off on the front page is another pocket, and it opens up like this with 2 sets of smaller pockets, so you can go ahead and add plenty of photos. And then what I did was over here, I used the Heartfelt Creations album tags and accents dies. And I show you how to go ahead and cut that out using the dies. And you kind of do it a little reverse from when you're making tags. So your pattern paper, you use the one that's technically the outside, and then the one for the plain cardstock you use for your inside. But I go ahead and show you how to do that. And I created just a simple little pull-out photo mat, and then plenty of room for photos. Also, you can get a good look at the beautiful paper. And again, right here, you can add photos wherever you want. On this page here, I created 4 photo mats that just tuck into each other. So if you open them up, you can put your photos. Also room for loose photos. And then it just folds back up. And it just simply tucks like that. Nice big back page for your photos, and then we start over again with our pocket. And I went ahead and used, and I did go ahead and make tags using that Heartfelt Creation die. And then the cutouts, I went ahead and just attached them randomly. Gorgeous paper. And again, the colors are just really pretty. I'm filming this one a little differently with my phone. I want to see how it's going to come out. I'm hoping the colors will show up much better than my regular camera does. There's that. And you can see too, I did stagger the sizes, so you can kind of get like a pretty angle of everything going through, as well as I did alternate craft and black cardstock just for another added little look. I kind of like the look of it. I don't do it too often. I should probably do it more because I really do like the look of when you mix up the craft and the black. A belly band right in the simple here. More. This one here on this tag, I wanted to keep the heart. I didn't want to chop it across, so I just kind of fussy cut, and then you can just go ahead and stick your photo underneath on that one. And then again too, this was just an 8.5 by 11 paper that I cut down to 8 inches. And then I just folded, I think it was 5 3/4. It's in the tutorial, because I wanted to also give that cute little staggered look. That way you have a chance to see lots of the patterned papers in it. And then here I added this one just like this, so that way it's a little tuck. Somebody's screaming in the other room. Again, just like this one too, just a little flap underneath. And then right here again. And then we wind it up with the exact same one as the front. Just like that. And then it all just fits nicely right inside. The photo mats and stuff keep all of that closed. And closes up just like that. So let's go ahead and make a folder. So the first piece you're going to need is going to be 12 by 8. And we're going to make a score line at 4 inches. Just like that. That's the first piece. And a second piece that you're going to need 4.5 by 8. And this piece you are going to score on the 1/2 inch mark. And what you're going to do first is you're going to go ahead and fold this piece. And when you do, make sure that you are lining up perfectly square at the bottom, perfectly square at the top. You go ahead and give that a burnish. The second piece we are going to go ahead and fold on that 1/2 inch. And for this piece, I guess we'll fold it over. So we're going to add some score tape. And we're going to give it a little bit of trim. So just like that. And like that. So then we're going to take this piece. So we're good and fold it down, where you're going to set that one right on top. And we want to make sure that it is exactly 8 inches. So you can see I have a little smidge over, so I'm just going to trim that. Alright, so I took off a tiny little sliver, and now we line up. So I'm going to make sure that is all the way good, up and tight. I don't see any overhangs. I'm going to stick that down. And we look good on the inside. And then these line up almost perfect. You can just see just a little bit where they don't quite attach, which is fine. All right, next piece. All right, and now you need 2 pieces that are going to be 7 3/4 by 6 3/4. And on the 7's the height. So on the 6 3/4 inch mark, you're going to score at 6 1/4. And again, on scoring with the 6 3/4 at the top, score at 6 1/4. And we're going to go ahead and add some tape. Do that to both of them. Okay, and then fold back. Give it a burnish down. Second piece. Okay, and then take our little folder. One side's a right side, one side is a left side. You don't have to trim these because these are smaller than your paper. So right up to the score line, but not on it. So if you want, you can just kind of go ahead and hold it up. Make sure it will fold over nice. You want to kind of keep equal measurements, top and bottom. So I know it will fold nice right there. Just like that. And then on this side, we're going to do the same thing to the opposite side. Stick it down. Yeah. And then that's what you got right now. Give that one a good and we fold it like that. Now we have two pieces. These are both 5 1/4 by 3 3/4. So on the 3 3/4 inch, you're going to score at a 1/2 inch on both. That. And then on these two, we're going to add tape again. And then go ahead and fold. And let's give them a good burnish down. And then we're going to stick these on here, one on the top, one on the bottom. I am just going to eyeball the center, so I'm eyeballing between this black and that black. And actually looks pretty even. And then the same thing for the top. Looks good. Okay. And that's what we have right now. Just like that. All right, so now we need two pieces, and these are both going to be 4 1/2 by 3. So on these two pieces, on the 4 1/2, you're going to score a 1/2 inch. Rotate it once, and then on the 3 inch side, 1/2 inch again. You have that, and then we're going to do the same thing opposite way, because we're going to kind of make these near each other. So on the 4 1/2 inch side, we're going to score at 4 inches, rotate it, and now we're going to score on 2 1/2. So basically, we have these two pieces like this. We're going to add our tape. And this is what we have. All right, and then what we're going to do is just trim this back right here. Same thing with the other side. Get rid of those. And we can burnish this back. side. Okay, so basically we have these two pockets here. The other thing what we need to do real quick is grab a pencil, and we are going to measure, so this is folded, and we're going to measure over 2 inches and make a mark. And what we're going to do, so you can see how it is, we're going to cut from this mark to the corner, and we're going to do the same thing with the other side, so measuring over 2 inches. And from that mark to that mark. And then this is what we have. So we cut that piece off and that piece off. You can just quickly erase any pencil marks. So now we're going to take our folder and we're going to put these on the front cover. And we do want to make sure that we are all the way to the edge and all the way to the bottom. And the same thing with the other side. Oops. We went crooked. And fold it over just like that. We line up. So now when we go to keep our front pocket on here closed, we can just use some photo mats, stick them in just like that, and it'll keep everything nice and tidy. And then we open up, we have some areas for photos as well as areas right there to go ahead and keep these photos. So now we just have to decorate. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started on making our pages, and we are going to be using the Heartfelt Creations album tags and accents dies. And for this, we're going to create a fancy little pocket edge. And to do that, we are going to use these opposite of what you normally would use them for. So normally the bigger piece you would use for your cardstock, and then your pattern paper would be the smaller piece. But when we're creating a pocket, we actually do this opposite. So we're going to go ahead and create a opening using the piece that we would normally use the pattern paper. And therefore, when we go and use the pattern paper, we're going to use the bigger piece because we're going to want to do it like that with the pattern paper so we have an edge. And the first thing you do need to do is find the center of this. Now I already did this one, but I will show you how I find the center. So what I do is I'm going to, basically you would measure across and divide it in half. However, I have all of these 1-inch grids on my mat. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just eyeballing it because it's pretty close. So you can see where these lines are right here and how much space between the die itself and the yellow lines are on my thing. So what I'm basically going to do is just go ahead and set it on. And as you can see, I have a black dot on my die. So I've already marked out my die, but this is how I did it. So let me go back. So I eyeball it to what I think the center is. And then I make a mark right here with a Sharpie. So I have it all lined up. And I find the center and I just make a mark. That gives me my center. And then what I did was, because I want to make sure my sides are going down approximately about the same. So what I did here was I threw it in my scoreboard. I found a line that I liked that I thought would give me a deep enough pocket. So this is the end result right here. So you can see right here, give me a deep enough part down here so I can have a nice pretty section there. So I put this in my scoreboard. and I find which line I think gives me enough room. So I make a mark on it, and this is all the way to this and all the way to the top, so you know you're even. So I found a spot, marked it, came down, found a spot, and marked the other end. So that way I just followed one of these score lines here down, and that's how I went ahead and found exactly where I wanted to make this even. Now to do it on your paper, so this piece right here, you're going to want to write it down for measurements. This piece here measures 6.5 by 8 1/4. And let's go ahead and do this first. So our measurement here is 8 1/4. So the middle point on this is going to be 4 1/8. So on here, I'm going to go ahead and mark 4 1/8 on each end, and then it'll be easy. Whoops, can't see that one. And then I'm just gonna, I think it's my pencil. And then I'm just gonna connect them. Yeah, it's my pencil. Let me find a new pencil. Okay, so let's line it back up again. Okay. Now to cut it this way, you do need to have a bigger die cutting machine. So I have an old Spellbinders. It's a hand crank one, and the plates on it itself are, I think, let me see, what is this one? 8 1/4. I think they're right at 8 1/4 because I did have to downsize this to fit in my machine. So then what you're going to do is, I need some tape. Let's see where my tape is. Alrighty, found my tape, and I'm just using like a lower tack tape. So what you're going to want to do is, we have our center line. We are going to line up our center line with our black dot on our die. And we are going to use the black dots on each end to line up to the edge of our paper. Just like so. And we're going to add our tape. Now if you're unsure, because sometimes when you run this stuff through the die machines, the tape really embeds in your paper and it's harder to get off. So I'm just going to put the tape closer to the inside because I don't need this piece right here. And then that way I won't worry about ruining the paper. All right, so my plate for this is exactly the 8 1/4 inches. I'm just going to put it on here, make sure my paper is not overhanging, and run it through. And there we go. And then all I'm going to do is just erase back a little bit of this for my pattern paper to go over. All right, and that is pretty much the hardest piece that we need to make for these pages. So this is a 4-page album, so I'm going to go ahead and create the other 3 that I need for my album, and then I'll be back and we'll continue on. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you how to do the pattern paper for this, and this is going to be the easiest way to do it if you don't put the pages together. It's a little more challenging, but the simplest way to figure out the size of your pattern paper is to do that before you go ahead and assemble everything. So because this piece right here is, let me get my measurements so I say it right, 6.5 by 8 1/4. Obviously you're going to go in 1/4 inch, so I'm using the 8 by 8 paper. So the 8 already is a good fit, and I just need to cut it down. So this is 6.5, so I'm going to cut this down to 6 1/4. Now, because this page here itself is going to have some pockets on it, so such as right here, you're not going to see a whole lot of your piece right here, and then you're going to have the cutout. So I'm just going with a simple pattern paper for this. If you want to go, you can actually go ahead and look for something that might have more quotes and stuff on it. I might do this for other pages, but for now, in this demo, I'm just going to use the cute little dragonfly paper. So as you can see right now, we have equal spacing all the way around, but this is going to be my top. So the easiest way to go ahead is I'm going to flip it to the inside that we're not going to see, and I'm going to go ahead and flip it. Well, do I want to do that one? Hold on. Might just have changed my mind. I think I like this one, so I'm going to go with this one instead. So again, so what I'm doing now, this is the front, and that's where the pattern paper is going to go. However, I'm going to flip it over, and what I want to do is I'm going to take some tape, and I'm just going to kind of set it on here. I'm not going to super stick it because that's not what I want to do. So just going to kind of lightly set it there. And this obviously is the piece that I'm using. So I'm flipping it upside down. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and line this up perfectly as if this is where I'm matting it. And of course I'm not. It's just to find where I'm supposed to go. So then I'm just going to press down the tape right here. That way when I flip it, it's holding my piece in place. And I have exactly where I want to go around all of those lines. So now I need to use something a little darker than the pencil because I need to be able to see it through the pattern paper. So now I'm going to hold it all down, carefully remove my tape, and if you slip it all, you're going to want to do this all over again. And now I'm just going to trace on my pattern paper. Okay. So as you can see, what I just traced. And now I'm going to go ahead and take the die that you would normally use for your black cardstock when you're making a tag, but we're doing it opposite. And now I'm going to go ahead and line this up a little over where my lines are. So let me just hold it up so you can see. So you can see my lines, and what I'm doing is I'm going to pretend like I'm doing it opposite. So you can see the pen lines. So I'm going to go ahead and line it up. And when I think I got it where it needs to be, just going to do the same thing that I did before with the black cardstock. And I'm going to run it through my machine. Make sure too, though, if you're using directional paper, that you are doing it in the correct direction that you want. And obviously, because the pattern paper is smaller than the black, this will fit much better. Okay. And now, as you can see, if you take your piece, you can ink it up, set it on, and there you go. You've got pretty much, I mean, I'd say my piece came out perfect placement on there. So you can see the black all the way around. Anyway, that's how you can go ahead and use those dies to create some very pretty little pockets on your paper. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this aside, and then we're going to continue on now going ahead and making our pages. Putting our pages together. So as you can see from my sample right here, I did alternate between black and craft cardstock. I like the look of when you kind of alternate those. And on my pages that I made for my my inserts for my covers, I did the same thing, but I did it opposite with the blue paper. So I didn't have enough blue paper, so I'm going to go ahead and continue the alternating colors, but I'm going to do it with craft. So you can do it all one color if you wish, or if you like the look of it, go ahead and do it that way. Let me get my pieces out of the way. So you have your piece that you just cut here, your second piece that you're going to attach to this piece. You're going to cut that one at 6.5 by 9 1/4. You're going to score on each end at 1/2 inch, so that'll be 1/2 inch, and at 8 3/4, apply tape and fold it. Make sure you burnish it down, just like that. And then what I'm going to do is line this one up right on top. And I'm going to make sure that I am perfectly lined up. And when I know I have it right, I'm going to go ahead, oops, forgot one step. Hold that thought. I'm going to cut back my corners a little bit just in case my paper is not exact. Just don't want these little pieces sticking out anywhere. All right, try it again. Set it on top. And when it looks right, now I'm going to stick it down. So I'm just going to slightly lift, remove the tape, make sure we're good. And stick that one down, and now we have a tunnel, and this is where we are going to go ahead and attach this page into the binding system. All right, so let's do the next one. So the next piece we're going to need, I'm going to do this one with the craft cardstock, and this one is 6 inches by 8 1/4, and I scored it 1/2 inch on the 6-inch side, so it kind of gives you 5.5 inches of space to decorate. And this piece here is going to go on the front. I'm going to trim back my pieces. And this is going to go on the top. So we're going to line everything up. And stick it down. Okay. So right now you have this, and you still have your opening right here. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and cut the next. All right, so our next piece we need is 6 1/4 by 8 1/4, so it's a little bigger than the first piece. And you're going to score it at 1/2 inch. And we're going to trim back. And then fold it over and burnish it down. Okay, so now this piece, here's your page. We're going to flip it over and attach it to the top of this piece. So we're going to go ahead, set it on top. Stick it down. Okay, and now we have this. And again, nothing is attached in here. It's still our page. Next piece. So the next piece we need to go ahead and cut. This one is 7 3/4 by 8 1/4. You're going to score on the 7 3/4 at 1/2 inch. And we are going to fold this one. Actually, We're folding this one this way, so you don't want to see the tape. And let's just fold it back. We're going to trim back again. Okay. Now what we're going to do is, here is the front. We're going to flip it all the way over. We are going to go ahead first and do a test run to make sure we fit. Now this piece we are going to be putting inside where your tunnel is. So let's go ahead and test it and make sure that you fit in there. And I need to trim this one just a little more. And hold on. This one is not fitting quite right. Okay, so I did go ahead and trim a little piece off, just a small little sliver, because it wasn't quite fitting. And we're better now. So anyway, you're going to go ahead and put it in. You want the sticky facing up to you. And we are on the back side. And make sure it's in there. Stick it down. Give it a good burnish. You still now have this right here, and you flip it over to the side. So you have a short page, the bigger, this, and that. All right, now we got just a bunch of pockets. Make a pocket that is going to go on the front part of this, and your pocket is 6 1/4 by 3 3/4, and you're going to score at a 1/2 inch on each side and a 1/2 inch on the bottom. We're going to go ahead and trim. Just like that, and let's fold everything back. Make sure nothing is overlapping here. Looks good. And give it a good burnish. Now this one here is going to go on the front page. And I'm going to center it to the space, and I'm only attaching the bottom. All right, and I'm not going to attach the sides till I go ahead and put my pattern paper down. Just like that. And now we're going to work on some pockets for the center. All right, so our next step is we're going to go ahead and cut 4 pockets. And these are 2 1/2 by 5, scoring a 1/2 inch on each end and a 1/2 inch on the bottom. We are going to trim all of them back. Last one. Okay. And we're going to go ahead, fold and burnish them all, making sure there is no overlap. And that one, actually I just made it, so we're going to leave it. And just like the pocket that we did on the front, we're only going to partially attach these ones. Okay, so now we're going to take our book, we're going to open up the first page, and we're working on the one with the fancy pocket and this side. So let's start with the first one. We're going to go ahead and put it on. So we're dealing with the fold part of this right here, that fold. So we want to put our pocket up close to it, but not on it, because we want to be able to allow our cover still to fold. And I am probably pretty close to the bottom. I would say I am probably about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom. However, if you still have your line here across, you should be kind of pretty much up even to that line. So as long as you didn't erase that whole line, that would be a good judge. Okay, and then our next pocket, this one here, what I'm going to do is hold this one down, and I'm going to place this one right up against that one, so there's no gap or nothing. And then when I know I have it right where I want it, stick that down, and then just make sure everything still folds nice. Now I'm going to take the next pockets and I'm going to put them back to back, and seeing how the other ones work fit nice, I can just follow along. Again, staying to the more left of that fold score line there, as you can see, and everything is going to still fold nice. Okay, and just like that, folds all up. And then everything will lay flat too once you have paper on it and the pockets are down. If you went ahead right now and stuck these pockets down, you're never going to go ahead and get this paper down. So what you want to do is the fancy paper you cut, you want to go ahead, put it on, and then you're going to go ahead and adhere your pockets down, just like that. All right, so that's how you're going to do that one. The only thing left now is some photo mats that we're going to put on this back page. All right, so the last step for our page assemblies is going to be some photo mats. So you're going to cut 4 pieces that are 5 1/4 by 3 3/4 and score at 1/2 inch. And let's fold and burnish all of these. And this is going to give you portrait and landscape. So what we're going to do is, on the very last page, we're going to go ahead and put one right about there. Again, not getting up to that fold score line. You don't want to jam it up. So if you put it on, make sure you fold over nice. You're going to put one on the opposite side, just like that. And then we're going to put one top and bottom, so I'm just going to turn it. And again, just eyeballing the center. And then one on the bottom. You could always off-center these too. They would look pretty if you kind of made them a little off-centered. So you could always put like this one here, here, and then do the opposite over on those corners. Either way, it's going to look pretty. All right, so that is the page assembly. All right, up next, let's go ahead and make the album covers. You're going to need 2 pieces, 8 1/4 by 9, and 1 piece, 2 1/2 by 9. And that will be your spine piece. You're going to go ahead and cover everything with score tape. All right, so first thing we're going to cover our big covers, or our covers rather, not our spine. And you're going to go ahead and cut your paper 2 inches bigger than your piece. So your cardstock right here, you want 1 inch wrapped so you can wrap. So this piece here, it's 8 1/4 wide, so we're going 10 1/4 wide, and this is 9 inches tall, so we're cut our cardstock at 11. And I'm going to go ahead and use some spacers from Country Craft Creations. and that will give me my 1-inch border all the way around. And I'm going to go ahead and set it down. If you don't have the spacers, you can just do the same thing with your scoreboard and go ahead and score at 1 inch on the top and on the bottom, and that would give you your area you need to place this. So making sure everything is all where it needs to go. Line it right up. That's the first piece, and then while I'm here, might as well just do the second one. Making sure we're good. Alright, and same thing, place it on, set it down. Alright, and then the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to wrap tape all the way around the border. Alright, so I went ahead, added the tape, so now I'm just using my little corner tool here, and I'm just going to trim away. If you don't have one of those, all you got to do is go ahead and cut at an angle. And you can see I'm leaving a little bit of space right there. Okay. And then for this, I am just going to fold each side. And get my bone folder, just give it a good extra. So take the tape off. And then I'm just going to kind of slowly get it to bend over. And then when I have it good and kind of creased, I can just stick it down. I'm going to do the opposite side next. Okay. And then now I'm going to do each other side. And now on this one here, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of smush down that little end just so they fold nice. So I'm just smushing down those little pieces right here. And then the same thing. And then when that's done, I'm just going to kind of go ahead and really burnish down those edges. So any kind of step part here with my paper, you're not going to really feel too much. And then I'm just going to make sure my corners are even. And then the other side. And just kind of smush that in there. And the bottom. And same thing again. Kind of give that a good smush in. Just like that. Now I'm going to do the other one off camera. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and cover the spine piece. This one you want to make 2 inches wider on each side. So you're at 2.5, so you're going to make it 6.5. So you figure 2, 4, 6, and then the 1/2 inch. And then just 1 inch top and bottom. The easiest way to do this one is I am going to go ahead and score at 2 inches. And then I'm going to use my spacer for the top. And then I'm going to place this up against the score line in the top area. make sure we're all snug right there. Oops. That's how I'm doing that one. And for first thing, so let's go ahead, make sure we're burnished down. So let's start doing a little bit of folding. So first we're going to go ahead and just bring it all the way over. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. You can make sure we're burnished good there. And there. Okay. And then I'm going to just do the same thing. I'm just going to fold it straight on up. And make sure and then the bottom one. And again. Alright, so what we want to do first is we're going to go ahead and add some tape here so we can stick that down. You don't have to go all the way across because we are trimming. I do want to make sure that I have tape on the whole thing, so now we're just going to put another little piece on the chipboard. Okay. Take that one and that one. I'm going to make sure we fold it over. And just go ahead and smush it down. And we're going to do the other side same way. Just like that. Okay, so we have that done. The next thing we want to do is flip it over to this side, and we want to go ahead and just kind of burnish that in on both sides. And basically what you're trying to do is almost create a step in it. You want to smush it down because what you're going to do is take your cover and put it right on top here, but you don't want to have, you want it to stay as flat as possible. So we're just going to keep working those a little bit. And keep doing it until you're comfortable with how you feel that it's going to go ahead and lay flat on there. So what I want to do next is I'm going to add some tape first before we do some trimming. So, because I want to make sure I have the tape on end to end for coverage on here. So I'm not going all the way up to the edge on that yet. because I'm actually going to do the edge on the book cover part itself. Okay, so we have this. So now we're going to kind of angle it a little bit. So right up here on the edge, just as if we're folding over when we're doing pockets and stuff, I'm just going to go ahead and put it on and cut it up. Okay. Same thing. I can flip it over. And just get those. And if I want, I can, let's see, am I going to trim those? You know what, I'm just going to glue those pieces down a little bit instead of trimming them. Oops. Maybe not. Let me Alright, so I got my glue unstuck and I just glued those down just so they sit a little more flush, except for that one didn't get glue on it. Okay. Alrighty, so let's get back to what we were doing. We're going to make sure that that is burnished down good. Okay. Okay, now let's take our cover. Make sure we know where we're going. We're going to add a little bit of tape right in here just to make sure we stick. I don't need to go all the way to the end. And let's go ahead, give it a dry run. And remove this one and that one, and then take this one. And make sure I'm lining up top and bottom. It's nice and snug. And go ahead and make sure we burnish that one down. And now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing to the other side. And we fit good right there. Let's go ahead, stick her down. And looks good. And there we have our cover. Looks all nice and tidy. And now we'll go ahead and create the binding. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and create the spine right now. So I have a piece that is 12 inches by 8 1/4. I did cut it a hair shorter than the 8 1/4, just so when I put my pages in, they will fit nicely. So to go ahead and do the binding, we are going to score at 1 1/4, 2 1/4, 3 1/4, and then we're going to do 3 3/4 with a, so we're going to have a 1/2 inch gusset, and then 4 3/4, 5 3/4, 6 1/4, 7 1/4, 8 1/4, 8 3/4, 9 3/4, and 10 3/4. And that's hopefully going to give us enough on each side, because I wanted to do this in one sheet. So this is giving us 1 1/4 on each end to attach. So we shall see how well that goes. And I will know hopefully by the time I get that far. So on this here, we're just going to go ahead and start folding. each line. And when we do, we are making sure we are lining up on the edges, just that way we know our binding will be even. So, and I'm going to burnish. I'm just going to flip it over just so I can still see. Alright, and then I'm going to flip it over the other way and go back and do it all the opposite direction. Again, making sure we are lining up nice and even. And I'm just going to flip it over and continue the same way. Alright, now let's add some score tape. So the first hinge, and we're not going to do that. There's that one. So we're going to go to the next one after the gusset. That one up here. And then I'm going to add a little more tape to my hinge so I have full coverage to keep my hinge completely down. Okay. And now what I'm going to do here is the gusset. Oops. Here's the gusset. You can see that. And what I'm going to do is fold this down over on that piece right there. Make sure no tape is showing. And then this piece here is going to go over to this side. Same thing, that one's going to here. And let's see if I have enough space to attach it now. And it looks like I do. And we'll tape that down good, and then we'll have paper over the top. All right, so then the next step for this is we need to make some little tick marks. So we make sure we fold nice. Okay, so we're going to get our pencil and our ruler. And what I'm going to do is So we have 1-inch hinges, and I am just going to go ahead and make a little tick mark 1/2 inch down on all of them. And we are going to do that top and bottom and front and back. And this will be our guide for when we put our pages on. And I'll show you in 1 second. Okay, so if you look, so this is the back side of our hinge, and you can see where I put little tick marks right on all those, and I have it on front and back and then top and bottom. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my tape. We are going to add tape to the top part of the hinge. Actually, you know what? There's no tick mark on that one. Okay. And when you put your tape on, you can see, let's see, your tape doesn't quite go to the tick mark, and that'll be fine because you don't want the tape to go past that, because you want your page to go to those little tick marks and not further, because you don't want tape showing when you put your book together. And on the last hinge, alright, so now what you want to do is, so you have tape on all of your hinges now, and we're going to go ahead and trim back at an angle. So I'm going from where the bottom part of the tape is and up. And you want to do this part now because it's easier to fold because you don't have tape on the back side of it. We're not cutting from the tick mark, we're cutting from the tape. So that's what we have right now. So now we want to go ahead and add full tape coverage to the back of this. So I'm going to use some wider tape. And I'm going to go ahead and I like to do it this way first because I don't want any of the hinges getting caught. So, and now I'll just trim it back. trying to make sure I'm cutting only the tape, not the paper. And now I'm going to continue, and I'm going to put this one on. And again, do that. And trim my tape. And then I have just a little bit of tape right there, so I'm just going to go ahead and trim that one. And I don't have to go through the whole thing if I don't need to. I just want to get the tape off. So the paper will come off after. So now we're just going to go ahead and burnish into that tape so we won't get any lifting of our hinges. And let's take our book. So we want to just make another little tick mark. We want to find the center of our book. So we are at 2.5 inches. So the center of that would be 1 1.25. So, and if I put my centering ruler on, we are at 1 1/4 on each side. And we'll erase those afterwards. Okay. And then we're just going to find our center. That is 1/2 inch. So if you want, just go ahead and make a little tick mark at 1/4. Okay. So right in that center, I made a little tick mark at 1/4. And then on our spine right here, we're 1 1/4 over. That makes our center. So basically what we're going to do is put this on, and we're just going to line up all the dots. So all our dots line up. However, we need to make sure we're centered top to bottom as well. So our book is 9 inches. Our spine is 8 1/4. So that is going to be 3/8 from the bottom. So really need to do it. We don't need to do it top and bottom. So there's 3/8 there, 3/8 there. So if you want to go ahead now, do a test run. Make sure everything looks even, and it does. So again, I put, here is my spine. It's 4 pages, so obviously 2 over. Our gusset is 1/2 inch, so 1/4 inch would be the middle right here. And then same thing with our spine. Our spine is 2.5 inches, so our center is 1 1/4 inch over. And then our book is 9 inches top to bottom. Our pages are 8 1/4, which is also what our spine is. So the distance between the 8 1/4 and the 9 is 3/8 of an inch. So then we brought our little lines up here, 3/8. And one more test run. We make sure everything is going to fall into place. Looks good. Let's remove our tape. And we want to make sure we're giving a slight pull so we're nice and tight and straight. We're going to go ahead and set this on, lining up that dot, those dots. Press it down. So that looks even. So now we're going to go ahead and work over from our center. So we can go ahead, burnish each side of your hinge. Okay, and just kind of give these a little fold down, because what we're going to do now is we want to work on where our book folds. So we're just going to kind of lift it a little bit. And then you can kind of stick that a little bit more. And we're just going to kind of hold it and just slowly work it, rocking it, trying to get those fibers to break on your book. Okay, and let's go ahead and do this other side first before it sticks. And you can see I do have a little tape overhang right there. Not that it's going to matter much because it is going to be covered. But just clean that up. And again, lift your book. Oh, I'm going to get stabbed. Lift your book a little bit. Go ahead and burnish where it's folding. And let's go ahead and fold it. And you just want to keep slowly working it. You don't want it to crack. Just keep working it till you can kind of get it to fold down. And now let's go back and do the other side. Okay. And there we go. And voila. All right, now we're going to go ahead and add some pages. Pages on our hinges. Now remember, when we put our pages on, we can go ahead and give it a test run first to make sure we don't need to do any additional trimming. And we are going to make sure that when we put our pages on, that we are going to be putting them on all the way down to that little tick mark. And make sure you're lined up to the tick mark on the top part here. Right there, you can see my little, kind of see my tick mark. And that's how we're going to make sure our pages are going to go on even. Okay, so let's start with the first one. Remember, the front part of the page is going to be right there. So I know that one we're going to work backwards. And all the pages are the same, so it's not going to matter. And making sure I can see the tick mark right up to it. There we go. And I can see from the back side I'm good on that one. And my next page, again, we are testing every single page. And that looks good. Now, when you give it a test run, make sure that your bottom pages are lining up to each other. If you made your tick marks all in the right spot, they should just automatically line up. And kind of going with the bottom one first and then making the top one line up. And then I line up this way too. I can see all my pages are lining up. Okay. And then once you get all your pages on, you can go back and erase all of your little tick marks because you won't need your guides no more. And last one. It's going to be so pretty. Good. Alrighty, so there we go. And you can see how that looks. Looks pretty. And now it's just a bunch of decorating, which is pretty basic, simple, so I don't really need to show that. The only other thing, I will come back afterwards and we're going to put a little corner pocket on the front and the back cover for our folders, and then we will be done. Alright, so let me go ahead, get the measurements for those, and I'll be back. 2 pockets. I've already created the first, so you're going to need a piece that's 9 3/4 by 4 inches, and we're going to make a couple extra score lines on this right here. So the first ones we're going to do at a 1/2 inch and at 9 1/4. We're going to rotate it and do it a 1/2 inch. So this is basically what your normal pocket would be. Okay. However, we're going to come over 1/8 of an inch and score it again. So then you're kind of creating a gusset. So on the 1/2 inch, we're going to go over 1, and where you did 9 1/4, you're going to come over 1 towards the 9 closer. So this is what we're going to go ahead and create. Now for this piece here, let's go ahead and fold on our score lines. So when I do the double score lines like this, I like to fold on the ones that are to the inside first. They just seem to kind of fold better for me than if I do it the other way. So we're going to fold on all those score lines. Just like that. Give them a good burnish. And this is going to create kind of, it's going to allow your pocket to hold extra stuff. So the folder that's going in this is a little thick. And if you just keep the pocket flat like normal, you're not going to have any area to go ahead and have like it to expand. So it's kind of a simple accordion, but just with one. So let's go ahead. We're going to add our tape. And we're going to cut it kind of like a normal pocket. So we're going to go ahead and miter. So now you have the double score lines. We're going to miter up against the one towards the inside more. So we're just going to go ahead and flop that whole piece off. And same thing with this one. And then just trim our pieces. And we're going to go ahead and stick this one on. So I already put the one on this side to the front. Now I'm going to do the back one. So the easiest way is to go ahead and fold. So you have, that would be kind of like this piece like this. So you're going to fold it flat against this back piece. And you're going to go to your cover, and right where it folds, you're going to go almost to that fold line. If you want, you can go ahead and fold these in just to, so you can center. And we are going to go almost all the way up to where this, where the crease is in your spine. And make sure it's good and flat down so you can see where it's going to go. And you're going to put that down. And then if you kind of push it a little bit, you'll get it to create that step there. And then now what we're going to do is put our sides down. So if you flatten them a little bit, get them to go ahead and make, you can see right here. So what we're going to do first is I'll do the bottom one because I can see it better. So I'm going to make sure it's pushed in kind of almost like where it needs to go. And I'm just going to kind of like light tack it down and make sure this back part here is creating that the kind of the step right here. And I'm going to burnish it down with my ruler. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. And I'm pushing right here to kind of push it back a little bit so that kind of gets a little more straight up and down. And I'm going to tuck that there a little bit. And then, so it creates, you can kind of see it adds a little extra space right there. You can see that. And then your folder can fit right in, because you want to make sure you're close to this edge, because your folder is going to be right up to the edge. And you want to make sure that your book is still going to close and your folder is going to fit. And just like that. And if you're worried that you're not going to have it quite right, just don't put the folders in it. Just don't make the folders if you think it's going to be a little too much. Or you could increase the spine the cover a little bit more, because it is pretty snug, but I'm okay with it. I like it like that. So the only thing we have left to do for our book is we just need to make a pull-out photo mat for right here. And I made one, is this to test, right here. And this is the piece that I made to go ahead and test, just some photo mats. That's it, easy peasy. And to just go ahead and make that one, you just need a sheet that is 11 by 8. And you're going to go ahead and score on 5 3/4. Like that. And just fold it. And that's it. And that is that easy to make. You can go ahead and do whatever you want for photo mats. Let me find the one I made right here. And all I did for this one was I just took some of the scraps that I had, and they're just 1 inch. So they're 1 inch by 7 3/4. And I just added them on, and the little, like, it's not even. So it kind of, you can play with the paper a little bit. So it's kind of pretty. Anyway, that is it for the photo mats. I'm going to go ahead and decorate the rest, but literally it's as easy as that. You can go ahead and do any kind of layout with the photos and stuff that you want, but that is how simple it is, and that is the last step to go ahead and make this album. And you probably have already seen the walkthrough, so I don't have to go through and show you anything else, and you will see all of that in the beginning. So if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I hope you enjoyed this. Till next time, guys, happy crafting. Bye.